Welcome to my personal finance channel. In today's video, we are going to touch on the subject of student loan. Students borrow in order to pursue their education. Here in Ontario, Canada, where I'm a resident, we have OSAP, which is an acronym for Ontario Student Assistance Program. In order to get the funds from this program, you have to qualify. They have to assess that there is a need for this assistance. You cannot get these funds if you have thousands of dollars in trust funds, or you accumulated certain property, or you have savings from your parents which amounts to a certain amount of money. Most of the students from low and middle income, they do qualify for this student assistance program, and they borrow the money. So first, let's dive deep into the pros and cons. We are going to touch on pros, we are going to touch on cons, and also how a parent can avoid their child take student loans. The pros. The student loans, roughly in Ontario, you are looking at $80,000 to $100,000 to pursue university education. 80,000 to 100,000 Canadian dollars. This is roughly about 60 to 80,000 American dollars. This is the entire duration of the 4-year degree. Also, it might exclude other incidental expenses. But if you add in some incidental expenses, traveling and food stuff, it might even come to 150, which is a big chunk of money. A lot of students wouldn't afford this. The first pro is it allows a lot of students from various backgrounds to afford education. That's from low income to middle income. Of course, if you are from a very rich family, you wouldn't require student loan. It also gives you an opportunity to advance your career. So if one wants to become a medical doctor, an engineer, a pharmacist, there is no way you can pursue these careers without a college degree. You definitely need a college degree. A lot of students have to borrow in order to pursue these degrees in pharmacology, in medicine, in engineering, in economics, in mathematics, you name it. Now, given that there is no student loan, like in other third world countries, students wouldn't be able to pursue their education. Now, if they cannot pursue their education, they will not get a good career. If they don't get a good career, they will remain in poverty. It creates this vicious cycle of poverty. So for someone to break out of this vicious cycle of poverty, student loans are required. Also, while you're in college, you don't pay, you are not obligated to pay back. You keep on borrowing a year after year until your 4-year degree. And while you are in college, the money does not accrue interest. It starts accumulating interest immediately at the end of you finish your degree. And there is also a grace period. They give you roughly up to 6 months before you can start paying it back. Another pro of the student loan is that the interest is relatively low. It's manageable. The interest is very low. So there is a tax benefit for the interest you pay on your student loan. So Another pro, as I said before, there is a grace period after you finish. They give you up to 6 months before you can start paying it back. And while you are also on grace period, if you're having problems getting a job, you can always talk to them. They will give you a listening ear and they'll extend the grace period. There are problems in the family, you're falling in hard times, and you can also write to them to put you on a deferral program of which they can put your student loan payment on hold without any adverse consequences on your credit report. Another pro, again, it helps this young person, this 20-year-old person who is straight out of high school, to build credit. If you are paying it well on time, you don't miss any payments, they make their payments very low, and they also give you a very long period to pay. You can go up to 20 years, 25 years to pay back, 15 years to pay back, depending with the amount of money you would have borrowed. They make the payments very low so that you don't feel it. Okay. It also gives you an opportunity of investing into the future by getting education. You have invested into the future. You have invested into the earnings for the future. Say a college degree in engineering, an engineer can make $150,000 to $200,000 a year, but a high school graduate cannot get any job that pays up that much. By getting student loan, you have invested into earning more into the future. And also, another pro, it supports part-time and non-traditional students. Here in Ontario, you can go to college part-time and ask for student loan. If you meet the criteria which are set into their rules and the regulations, they can always give you student loan. But there are also cons. One of the most detrimental aspect to the borrower, is that it's a long-term debt burden. You are in debt for a long time, owing money to the government, right? It also impacts your financial stability, because this is a young person straight out of college. He hasn't had any savings. He hasn't acquired any property. And here he is $80,000 to $120,000 in debt. And especially here in Ontario, those who go to medical school, because they have to have an undergraduate degree where they pursue medicine, and for roughly another 7 years, they end up accumulating 200 to 250. So this young person, straight out of school, with no working experience, is deep in debt. So it impacts your financial stability. There is also another con. There is a potential for default. If you default on a student loan, it's reported to your credit report. It impacts your credit report. So you are a young person starting straight out of life, and you're starting with an already messed credit before you go anywhere. Another con, it can impact your mental health. You are always thinking how much you owe. It puts a strain on your mental health. Another con, there is limited bankruptcy relief. You can declare bankruptcy on credit cards, on these credits, car payment, but with the student loan, even if you declare bankruptcy, they will not give you a lift. They will still need their money. Another con, there is an opportunity cost of, instead of paying down payment for a house, you are paying student loan. As a new member to the society, you might want to have a place to live, a car to drive, build some savings. But now, instead of doing all this, you have to make sure that your student loan are saved first, because they might impact everything. It also delays wealth building. Instead of you paying, building up, saving for the future, you are paying to the student loan. You have to clear that 150,000 which you borrowed to pursue your education. Instead of you putting your money into a tax savings free account, you're putting your money to student. And also it can impact credit score. It can impact one missed payment. It goes on your credit report. The credit bureaus will get that. You might end up with a bad credit because you missed on a student loan. Another con as well is that it is dependent on your future earnings. You are coming out of college. You have spent 4 years in college. As you come out of college, you don't know how the future is going to be. Maybe there'll be downturn in the economy as soon as you leave college. As a result of that, you are unable to work in your field. I'll give an example of what happened here in the city in Ontario where I live. High-tech company, which used to employ hundreds of engineers and other technicians. So about 20 years ago, it shut down, laying off hundreds and hundreds of engineers. So we have 2 universities, hundreds of new graduates from engineering school and other qualified engineers who were working for that company themselves without jobs. Most of them they had to relocate. Eventually, most of them started working somewhere else, and some even had to change careers. So the con is like you are taking this amount of student loan, 150, 200,000, which is dependent on your future earnings, but you don't know what the future holds for you. This is a big con for student loan. So we are going now to dive deep into how you can avoid student loans. To begin with, as a parent, if you want your child, your daughter, your son not to fall into student debt, in Ontario, we have a registered educational savings plan. This is a plan you can take for your daughter, for your son, starting from as soon as he or she is born, and you start putting some money into it. The money accumulates tax-free. And also, the government will give you a certain portion to top up that money for which will go towards your son or daughter education. Here is the catch. Your son or daughter has to go to college. Otherwise, the government will take their portion out of it. And it accumulates tax-free. However, as soon as you start withdrawing, it becomes taxable. The tax isn't that much. And this is a very good plan you can take for your son, for your daughter, which will enable your daughter or son not to follow on student loan. Let's assume now your parents didn't do this for you. and you just graduated out of college. As an individual, as the student yourself, there are certain things you can do. Borrowing much, you can borrow partly from student loan and then partly have some funds from programs which I'm going to talk about. You can have good grades that will make you qualify for scholarship. Work hard in school, young men, young women, have very good grades that will qualify you for certain scholarships. There are Canada scholarships here in Canada. There are a lot of other scholarships plans, but you need to have good grades and you need to maintain good grades. And also start hunting for those scholarships early. Very in your grade 11, grade 12, the earlier you start, the better your chances of getting scholarships. Sometimes it's a bit hard to get full scholarships. You can get partial scholarships. I remember myself getting like $100 here, $1,000 there, $800 there. But to get full scholarships, it's a little bit hard. So whatever you get, it helps. 500 here helps. 200, 2,000 there helps. Yeah. And also you can work while you are in high school. You can work and save money towards your education. You are living at home with your parents. You don't pay rent. You don't pay mortgage. You don't pay bills. Out of high school, get a job, work, and save your money. Save every penny towards your education. This will help you from borrowing the entire amount for your education. You might need to borrow partial amount to top up, but part of it you would have had it. Attend online university. You can start getting some college courses by using online universities. And then you apply those credits towards your degree. Make up your mind around grade 11, grade 12. Decide what career you want to pursue. If you make up your decision, start taking some courses towards your university degree. And then you can start taking some courses, some online courses towards your degree. This will reduce the amount of years you need to be in school, full-time in university. It also reduces the amount of credit you have to take one-on-one at university, and hence it might reduce the duration which you have to stay in school. And avoid taking their student loans which are given by banks. But once you withdraw money right away, you have to be paying a certain minimum amount back into the line of credit in order to maintain line of credit so that it doesn't become a default credit, which might impact your credit score. Also, plan your major and the path to education early. If you plan it early, you will be able to take some credits from online universities, and then you don't need to take as credits at university, which will reduce the amount of money you might need to borrow from student loans. Also, work full time in summer as a student. If you are in school, like here in Canada, the school year ends 30th of April. Then you have May, June, July, August, the entire 4 months. These 4 months, make use of them. Work around the clock. Don't play. No time for party. And save every penny. You are still living at home, young man, young woman, with mom and daddy. So save every penny and put it towards your education. So these are some of the ways you can avoid to take student loans. Students' loans, they burden. They can mess up your credit, as I said before. This is a personal finance channel, and we'll give you tips on how to plan your finances